Hey there tech fans, Rick here again from the OREI team, and in today's video, I'll show you how you can easily access the graphical user interface for the BK-808 and the BK-404. Now this graphical user interface is easy to access over a LAN connection on your network by simply opening a web browser and pointing that web browser at the IP address of either unit. That gives you complete control over all the configuration settings inside the unit and allows you to choose input versus output relationships, as well as change all the parameters available to configure the product exactly as you need it for your particular setup. Now, the first step in accessing that GUI is to understand what the IP address is currently of the product and then change it to a network address that works on your particular network. And I'll show you how to do that next. So stay tuned for that. And once I finish that section, I'll actually walk through the different configuration settings that are available for both units so you understand exactly how you can customize those for your particular network setup. You can use the graphical user interface to make all of your configuration changes by simply connecting it up to your local network with a standard LAN cable in this port right here. Before connecting the unit to your local network, you'll first need to determine its current IP address. And to find that, you can tap the menu button and use the up and down buttons to move through the menus until you see Set, hit Enter, and then step through the various options in the Set menu by tapping the up and down arrow buttons until you see IP Info. Hit Enter again. You'll see the DHCP is currently turned off and it has a static IP address. Now you can turn DHCP on by tapping the up and down buttons and hit Enter, and you'll see success comes up, and that means that the unit right now is ready to have your network set its IP address. You can also set it manually by using a laptop and connecting to this network and accessing the GUI and changing it through there. I like to turn DHCP on because my network can set the address for me. So I'll leave it there for now, connect it to my network, and let it choose an IP address. Now I've connected the unit to my local network and I've cycled power. I'll go back into the menu setting to take a look at the current IP address by following the steps I just mentioned. And you'll notice the IP address is now set on my local network, 192.168.1.36. Now I can simply access that IP address through a web browser to open up the GUI. Once you've opened a browser and made a connection to the video matrix through the LAN port, you'll be greeted by the main logon screen. You'll need to enter the right credentials to access the matrix. The default username is admin with a capital A and admin in lowercase for the password. When you've entered these, be sure to tap the logon button to enter the matrix. The first screen you'll see is the status page, where you'll find a lot of important information about the matrix. Here, you can see the model number and the current level of firmware the product is running, which is important in case there is a newer version of the firmware available. A little further down on the screen, you'll find the current connection details, such as the host name and subnet mask, as well as the gateway and MAC address. These can be changed later if needed to match your local network for future access to the product. The next tab down is the Matrix tab. This is where you can easily change which input media is being directed to which output device. To do this, simply choose the input you'd like to change and then select a new input from the drop-down menu. If you want to remember these settings, you can name it as a preset and save or retrieve it later using the buttons for each of the inputs. This can save you time with a future setup. The Input tab will display the current connection status for all of the inputs. There is an indicator for each confirming the connection to a media device for that particular input. On this tab, you can adjust the EDID settings for each device to accommodate a variety of different media profiles. You can simply click the arrow next to the input you'd like to change and select a new EDID setting from the list. You also have a choice of adjusting each of these settings individually or recalling them automatically from a save file by simply browsing your computer. If you use a particular group of EDID settings regularly, you can also save them to a file on your computer for easy recall later. The Output tab is similar to the Input tab and provides control over all 8 of the output streams. It shows you if you have a monitor connected with a visual indicator. You can also rename each of the outputs on this page to make them easier to remember. The matrix provides a scalar adjustment for each display individually and allows you to adjust this setting manually if needed. You have additional control over HDR for each input and can adjust these by simply tapping the arrow to the right of the setting and selecting a new option. You can also adjust the HDCP version being applied for copy protection on each of the outputs. Finally, you have the ability to turn the ARC function on for each input, as well as disabling the stream. The next tab down is the External Audio tab, and it allows the matrix to control the audio output for each of the inputs individually. This tab is where you can make those choices. You can easily enable and disable the audio for each input, as well as control the ARC function for each of the media streams. The CEC tab provides complete digital control over the matrix. On this screen, you can easily control the input choices by simply tapping an icon to turn each input on and off, as well as control the media playback for that input. On the output section, you can mute audio, as well as enable and disable each of the output streams. The next tab down is the Network tab, which allows you to make adjustments to the network and login details for the matrix. In the top section, you can change the network address for the matrix on the LAN and either choose it manually or let DHCP find an open address if your network provides this feature. On the bottom section, you can change the login credentials for both the user and admin accounts. This tab also allows you to rename the matrix to something custom if you're using this device in a commercial installation. You also have the ability to reset these values to the factory settings if needed. The final tab provides even more control over how the matrix operates and allows you to adjust some basic settings to your needs. You can easily enable and disable the panel lock, turn the beeping function on and off, as well as control how long the LCD display stays on after a period of activity. If you're using the RS-232 port to connect, you can easily change the serial baud rate as needed to match your computer. This is also the screen that you'll use to update firmware later on if needed. You can simply browse for the file on your computer and apply it to the matrix. Finally, this tab allows you to do a complete factory reset of the matrix or reboot it over the network if it needs to be reset. I hope you found this overview of the graphical user interface for the OREI BK-808 and BK-404 helpful. That interface gives you access to every possible configuration setting available on the products and allows you to modify whatever parameters are needed to perfectly match your media setup. Through that interface, you can modify things like the basic IP address of the unit, the baud rate for the RS-232 connection, you can change input and output parameters, and modify all of those settings, again, through a simple web browser. Everything you need to access is available through that interface, and it makes it really easy to manage both of these products from anywhere in your network. So until next time, thanks again for watching.